I'll call to order this meeting of the Bloomington Commission on Sustainability. This is our July regular meeting. Today is Tuesday, July 12th, 2022, and it is 6:04 p.m. We have neither a secretary nor a co-chair present. Is there, or who present would be willing to fill the capacity of the secretary for the duration of this meeting?
Again?
Thank you, Nolan.
Yeah.
I unfortunately cannot do that in addition to sharing. Actually, we have Najla present, just in time. Thank you. I think for the scope of roll call, Nolan, if you wouldn't mind kicking that off. And Najla, just for reference, we don't have a secretary, so either you will have to fill in as secretary or appoint someone to do so. And Nolan has offered as you were arriving. So I will leave that in your hands.
Appoint a secretary
Yes.
for the meeting?
Yes.
To take notes?
Correct. And do roll call and voice votes, or roll call votes.
Okay. Is anyone able to take notes for our meeting this evening?
Yeah, I will.
Oh, thanks, Nolan.
Yeah.
That's very generous of you. I appoint Nolan.
All right. Thank you very much then. If our acting secretary would please call roll.
Christina. Matt Austin.
Here.
Sarah. Alicia.
Here.
Matt Flaherty.
Here.
Emma. David.
Here.
Sean.
Here.
Najla.
Here.
Joseph.
Here.
And Nola is here.
Emma is here. She just is on the computer.
Hey Emma, we got you here.
Thanks. Sorry for being late.
No worries. The owl was also late, so we're all right on time. All right. So we do have a quorum. Thank you for that, Nolan. And then we can proceed to the adoption of the agenda, which I will display in a screen share. If you would permit me to, Lauren. Apologies. And I'll mention in the meantime that the agenda that was distributed had lost a couple of items that I would like to, let's see, I will first share the distributed agenda. So this is the one that we would generally be moving to adopt. What I would like to propose instead is this alternate agenda, which contains the same items as the distributed one, plus 2 additional items, which is the strategic, or the annual report, strategic plan proposals. So that's agenda item number 9, part B, and then also part C, takeaways from the National Restaurant Association. So this is what I would like to propose adopting as our agenda. Since we do have virtual attendees, we will need to do a roll call vote on the adoption of the agenda. If you would be so kind, Nolan. So I would...
Forgive me if I call people who aren't here. Does that need a motion?
Yeah, I think I'll move that we adopt the agenda as shown on the screen share.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, we can proceed to the roll call vote.
Matt Austin.
Yes. Approved.
Alicia.
Yes.
Matt Flaherty.
Yes.
Emma.
Yes.
David.
Yes.
Sean.
Yes.
Najla.
Here. Yes.
Joseph.
Yes.
And yes for me.
All right, thank you all. So that agenda is adopted. And then we can go on to, well, we don't have meeting minutes present from last month's meeting, or available, I should say. So we can proceed to number 5, public comment. So if there are any members of the public present who would wish to speak, you have 3 minutes, and you can indicate your desire to do so. If you're in the room, you can raise your hand. If you're in the Zoom, you can use the raise hand function, or you can type into the chat. Yes.
Stephanie Richards.
Yeah, if you would mind approaching the mic, so
Sure,
we can get
that'd
the
be
audio for those who are virtual.
sounds like I have a little bit less time than I thought, so.
No, you're later in the agenda, Stephanie.
Oh, is that me? I'm sorry, I couldn't
Oh,
see the agenda back
yes.
there. Okay,
Yeah,
sorry
no,
about
we've
that.
got plenty of time for you.
Thank you, I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's fine. You can still make a comment if you would like to, or you can just say your presentation.
Well,
or
I would
follow
like
the
to
agenda.
say that a little bit later in the agenda, I'll be talking about the Monroe County Community Voices for Health, and I look forward to sharing it with you then. Thank you. Sorry
Excellent.
about the old eyes.
No,
Thank you.
I don't think 3 minutes would have been enough.
Quick aside, there's a prompt in the Zoom for requesting live transcript, Lauren. I don't know if you see that as well, but I can't dismiss the window and it's inhibitive.
No.
Okay. Well, permission to enable live transcript.
Just put it down.
All right, there we go. Thank you. All right. So are there any other members of the public present in the room or on Zoom? Seeing none, we can proceed to number 6. Item number 6, report from the acting chair. There is nothing to report on my behalf. Nigel, I'll give you the opportunity if you have anything.
Nothing to report from the chair.
All right, thank you. Then we can go ahead and proceed to report from our staff liaison, Lauren.
Sure. The main thing that I wanted to do tonight was to introduce you all to Michaelin. So she just started as the sustainability program coordinator a couple weeks ago. And so she'll be working with me and others in our office to implement aspects of the climate action plan, and wanted to give her a second to introduce herself, and then she'll probably participate in meetings moving forward on and off depending on what's on the agenda.
Yeah. Hi, like Lauren said, I'm Michaelin. I started 2 weeks ago, so again, like she said, sustainability program coordinator. I'll be helping her out with all the programs, past, present, future, within our department. So I just graduated from IU in May. My background is in sustainability, so I'm really looking forward to being a part of the meetings and seeing all what's going on with the city. So it's nice to meet you all.
Awesome. Congratulations on the job.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Other than that, I would say just upcoming meetings to be aware of. Again, just a reminder that the budget hearings are last week in August. If you're interested in watching, it's typically around 3 or 4 departments per night. That could be something that anyone that's interested in any particular department or just the budget process in general could join. If you're looking for the links to participate, they're on the city calendar. I think there will be both an in-person and virtual option for that week. And then other than that, just sort of reiterating our discussion from last time about the climate conference that's in Richmond, and registering for the Sustainability Commission section, either virtually or in person if you're interested.
Lauren,
Mm-hmm.
any questions on that report?
Did we just talk to you about registering for that?
Sure. Yeah, I can resend the link too. Yeah.
Are you planning on going in person?
I am. Yeah, both of us will be there both days. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Seeing no further questions, we can go on to our report from Council ex officio, Matt Flaherty, if you would be so kind.
Hey everyone, sorry I couldn't be with you in person this evening. I don't have much to update. We're on recess as a council right now, so there's not much going on. We are back in session actually in 8 days though. On July 20th, next Wednesday, we'll have a regular session and find out, I think this Friday in our packet, what's on the agenda for that. So not much to share on the legislative front. I also have a constituent meeting next Monday at 5:30 p.m. And the links to Zoom for that are on the council calendar. If folks wanted to talk more deeply about any topics, like Lauren mentioned, I would reiterate that coming up in later in August, last week of August, are the budget hearings. As part of that process, discussion of allocation and expenditures with the somewhat recent local income tax increase are pulled out and separate. So that'll be part of the ongoing budget conversation. I'm not exactly sure how that'll be presented, but it is, again, disaggregated from the general budget. Part of, there are a lot of climate dimensions to what was passed, including a pretty big investment in transit, but there was another tranche of funds that are dedicated to climate action plan implementation, and that's pretty open-ended. So if you have thoughts about that and want to engage on that, certainly encourage you to do so. And I'm sure Lauren can provide more guidance on what that's going to look like too. I don't think I have other updates to share, though I'm happy to answer any questions that folks have.
Thank you, Matt. Any questions on that report? All right, seeing none in the room or on Zoom, that concludes our reports, and we can proceed to discussions, not resolutions. So starting with our Community Voices for Health from Stephanie Richards of Gnarly Tree Sustainability Institute. Welcome back to the mic.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Lauren, would you be willing to share my presentation?
Sure.
Okay, thank you so much.
Did you email to me?
I did. Sorry, I should have mentioned it earlier. I thought I imagined I saw it on the screen. I'll just take a moment to introduce myself for folks who don't know me. So I'm the managing principal of a local company called Gnarly Tree Sustainability Institute. And so we do a broad range of work related to sustainability management, environmental policy, and public engagement. And you may recognize my name because I used to be on the commission years ago. And my company also helped lead the development of the 2018 Sustainability Action Plan. And but I'm here today because I'm going to talk to you about this project we're working on called Community Voices for Health in Monroe County. Matt has actually been on the served as well on the advisory council for this project. And what we've been doing is talking to a lot of people within the community about their perspectives on the top health issues facing the community. And so we've used that information to write the community health assessment. And so the next step in this process is we're going to work together collaboratively to develop a community health improvement plan. And so, and then we're going to be kicking off that meeting for the working groups on Thursday, the 14th of July. And so I'm seeing quite a bit of overlap between the work of these working groups and the work of the Commission on Sustainability. So I'm here to talk to you tonight to see if some of you may want to participate in some of those working groups. I think that is the flyer instead of the presentation. I'm sorry. It's, but I'll just go ahead and talk. And if we get them pulled up, that's fine. Just to give you a sense, the Monroe County Community Health Assessment has been a very collaborative effort. So there are a lot of different partners that participated in this work. So it was led by the Monroe County Health Department, Parks and Recreation, IU Health, Bloomington Hospital, HealthNet, and this Community Voices for Health in Monroe County, which I've been helping with the research and data analysis for. And so we've spent the last couple years both doing, reviewing the secondary data on health issues, talking to hundreds of different community members about their perspectives of what are the most important and challenging issues facing the community. And like I said, the next step will be to develop this community health improvement plan. So there's been a significant amount of planning that has gone into the plan, to the community health assessment. So there was a community survey that was issued both online and available in person for folks to fill out. We've hosted dozens of meetings with community members to get their perspectives. And we also looked at a lot of different secondary data sources to get a sense of how conditions in Monroe County compare to those in other communities and the nation. And what we kept hearing about were 10 different health issues facing the community. Actually, I can get those on this sheet. So if you scroll down, I'll show you where it is on this handout. So these are the top 10 issues. Yeah, the top 10 issues facing the community. And so what we did is in April and May, we hosted these 2 think tanks. And what we did is we offered an opportunity for folks to discuss their perspectives and possible solutions to the health issues facing the community. And then we gave them an opportunity to vote on what they thought the top 3 issues were facing the community. And there were a lot of ties between some of the issues. And so what we ended up with 3 priority health issues that are going to be addressed within the Community Health Improvement Plan. Those are poverty and navigating health and social services, inequity, discrimination, and bias, and there you go, thank you, and substance use and mental health. And so no surprise, the 4th issue that came up was affordable housing, housing insecurity, and homelessness. But since there's another well-funded group that's dealing with those issues, that will not be addressed in the Community Health Improvement Plan. That's going to continue to be addressed by the United Way of Monroe County and Community Foundation. So the next step is going to be that at this kickoff meeting, we'll start forming these 3 action teams around these 3 priority areas. And so I wanted to take a brief moment to highlight where I see some of the overlap between the work of the commission and those 3 groups. Yeah, just stay right here on this. Yeah, I can talk about there. Thank you so much, Lauren. Sorry about that. I should have been more specific. So if you think about poverty and social services, there's a lot of, within sustainability, there's a concern with food insecurity and local food and agriculture. And so I could see this as an area, that area being a particular interest to, and even just the poverty issues being of interest to the Commission on Sustainability. And the other thing that might have a lot of overlap is when you think about the 3 legs of sustainability, inequity, discrimination, and bias is certainly thought of as one of those social issues that's of concern within the sustainability field. In addition, when you think about the impacts of climate change and how they disproportionately impact underrepresented groups, especially people who are low income, people experiencing homelessness. So I could see a lot of interest within your commission, particularly within those 2 working groups. So if you'd like to get involved, we'd love to have you. Like I said, the kickoff meeting is Thursday from 12 to 1 in the Fountain Square Ballroom. And so we'd love to have you there. And I can have Lauren send you a link to RSVP for that event. I think it was in the email that I sent out. So with that, I'll just open the floor to questions.
Yeah, thank you for that report.
You're welcome. Thank
Presentation, rather. Any questions or discussion?
I have a question.
Yes.
This is a great presentation, and I definitely see some overlap in our group and with what you're doing. I'm just curious to know if in the survey, were there any questions about people's concern about extreme heat or questions about how climate change affects their health?
It was not. It was not specifically in there, and so it's kind of interesting. It wasn't when people were asked to say what they thought the top health issues were. Climate change didn't come up, but it did come up in some of the deliberative discussions. Like, for example, one person commented, more action needs to be, done on climate change. So it's kind of interesting that it may be that other issues were top of mind for people, and it kind of points to the need actually of the magnitude of climate change impacts on local health, because I don't think it's, at this point in time, I don't think it's really resonating the magnitude of those health impacts. So that's why it would be great to have you involved in this initiative.
Great, yeah, there definitely needs to be more education out there.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
Oh, so what impact will the community health improvement plan have on improving city services in these areas?
That is one of the goals. So what the action teams are going to do is they're going to come up with goals, so SMART goals and strategies for improving these health conditions. And then that will be used to figure out what funding. So the goal is that the funding for health services will be around the goals and strategies that come out of the community health improvement plan.
And so I don't think I understand exactly, because I know you said CJAM had a big role in planning this effort.
They were part of the
city program. Is this somehow overseen by the city or?
So the partners involved in the community health improvement plan include Monroe County Health Department, Parks and Recreation, IU Health, and HealthNet. So there were a lot of different partners. Generally, the Monroe County and Health Department, IU Health, and the Parks Departments lead the community health improvement plan, and so we will be helping assist with that from the public engagement standpoint. And so yes, the Community Voices for Health in Monroe County, there were several partners, including Community Justice and Mediation Center, and my company helped with the public engagement element of the process. So
Thank you.
Is that helpful?
Yeah, that is very helpful to know who some of the background stakeholders.
Yes,
were
it
for
was.
this
I
project.
talked through it, but
Sorry,
it was.
this is the first time I've heard of it.
Oh no,
Yeah.
no problem. No.
Okay.
And I'll send you the slide deck so you
Great.
can see that. I'm sorry if we
I
can't.
found your website already.
Okay.
I just had another question. Oh, will this plan, the CHIP, have like ongoing oversight, and like will you be doing this kind of work again to see if it's working and improving it? And if so, can because our commission be added to the planning process next time, perhaps?
That would be a
You
great
included
question for
earlier?
the health department. I would just decide, so usually the planning efforts are spearheaded by the Parks Department, community, the health department, and IU Health. So those are kind of three folks that generally lead the planning process. And so I would just suggest that members of,
City Parks, County Health, and IU Health.
yes, are kind of the three main leads for
Okay.
the community health improvement plan. And so the best way to go about that would be to have BCOS members on the action teams and try to move towards that for next time. So it generally is a 3-year process. So there's a couple years of research, and the third year is the planning. And so as soon as the CHIP is done this year, then they'll probably be gearing up for the research.
But this is the first year they've done it. Is that right?
Oh, no, it's been done, I think maybe, it's been, I'm not sure how many times it's been done. It's several times.
Okay.
Yes, this isn't the first CHIP. Yeah, it's actually part of federal accreditation, the federal accreditation process that you have to do it, that the health departments
great.
have to do it, so.
Sorry for so many questions.
No, it's
One
okay.
Last one. It's
I'm happy
easy.
to answer any questions.
Can you just, I think you mentioned it and I missed that part. What was the data set that you analyzed to choose the 10 categories? Was it like the county health data, basically?
Sure. So there were a number of different data sets. And so if you want to look at all the data, If you go to the health department website, there's a community health assessment, and that includes all the data that you're asking about. We'll also review that a little bit more at the July 14th kickoff meeting, but we generally looked at census data. There's Robert Wood Johnson Foundation has county health rankings for all the counties in the state, so
Yeah,
we were
familiar with
comparing.
that one.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think what else off the top of my head, but basically, you know, a series of government databases that are generally used to evaluate health conditions in a community. So
Great, sounds like it was very comprehensive.
yes. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll just add, Najla and I are working on a project together, so we'll probably connect with you, but I don't want to take up too much more meeting time.
Oh, no, you're fine. No, I'm.
Yeah, we're working on something similar to what you guys are.
Oh, okay. Wonderful.
Any other questions? We're on Zoom. All right, seeing none. Thank you, Stephanie, again for
Okay.
that presentation.
Thank you for
Thank you.
your time.
Absolutely, appreciate the
And I'll
information.
make sure I get all the slides and materials out to everybody. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Becky, thanks. All right. With that, we can go to our next item of discussions, which is the 2022 annual report, with a particular focus on the strategic plan proposals. So following last month's meeting, the objective was for each of the working groups to get together, create their strategic plan for the coming year so that we can compile those things after reviewing them with the rest of the commission for the 2022 annual report for the 2023 plan portion of that report. So the agenda proposed order is starting with waste reduction, the waste reduction working group. Matt, if you were interested in giving the summary, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, following our meeting of the goals and objectives for the working group.
I forgot about that. I was focused on this, but yeah. So we came up with some SMART goals. Yeah, I don't remember them honestly. I apologize. I know you've got them written down.
Yeah, alternatively, Emma, if you have them up right now, that would be convenient. If not, I'm going to fetch my notes as well.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm having trouble hearing.
Oh no. Everyone all the time, or individuals?
It's just really soft on my computer, so, and I don't have very many resources to help better it, so,
Okay. No, that's all right. I think for the time being, then, we will proceed to the heat preparedness working group. If, Sean, I presume, I will check in with you to see if you have information on that or if there are any other team members that you wanted to defer to.
Okay, I can just talk briefly. We haven't been able to have a full meeting yet with all three of us. Sarah has been busy and our schedules just haven't been able to coordinate since our last meeting, but Nolan and I came up with a list of questions for the city departments, just asking them if they're working on anything related to heat management. And so we agreed that I would reach out to the health department and the planning department, and Nolan, he's going to talk to people at utilities and also in emergency management and see what they're doing. But we have a whole list of departments that we want to reach out to. And so our goal is to create a heat management task force. And so I have been extremely busy since our last meeting. I've been out of town. So it's not something I've been able to work on, but that's our goal for this year, is to create a heat management task force. So it comprises of city departments and nonprofit organizations and whoever else wants to be involved. And so we'll go from there, determining what we want to focus on this coming year and what we think we can accomplish.
All right. Thank you for that summary.
I have just a brief comment. Would it be helpful if I sent you our Hoosier Resilience Index Readiness Assessment interview responses for the health section?
Sure, that'd be great.
Yeah.
So, so when you say your goal is to create a task force, does that mean that your goal is to, that the commission would recommend that the city set up a standing task force? Is that what you mean, or do you mean something else? I don't think I understand.
I think it wouldn't be led by the city, it would be led by our commission. So our small group within the Commission on Sustainability, we would lead the task force and, you know, setting up meetings and developing our goals and what we want to accomplish.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, because it's frequently the mayor uses that term when he sets up things like that. So I wasn't sure at what level it was going to be organized, but that makes sense.
Okay.
Any other questions or items for discussion?
Yes, I think I have a discussion point on the agenda.
Oh, sorry, for this particular portion of the agenda on the heat preparedness working group's 2023 strategic plan proposal. Because what I would like to maybe ask Sean or anyone else from the group present, how would you like to proceed then with the planning for the 2022 annual report? Is that goal what you would like to put in for your 2023 objective, or do you anticipate meeting still and having a refined or a more specific set of objectives or goals?
Yeah, I think it's too early for us to really have a defined set of objectives and goals since we don't have the task force formed yet.
One note I will make, and that came up during our waste reduction working group conversation as well, is that since we're looking at this sort of mid-year period where we're not aligned with the calendar year, our group opted for our plan to make our goals for the remainder of the calendar year. So because we'll be essentially to get in sync with the subsequent calendar year, then we could have a end of 2022 goals and then a separate full calendar year of 2023 goals. I know that we had discussed that concept at our last meeting but hadn't landed on exactly how we wanted to proceed. It sounds like in this case, would it be fair to make the establishment of the working group your remainder of task force, the goal for the remainder of 2022, and then revise in that time a 2023 full year plan?
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, again, we have only two of us have met so far, so it's hard to say this is exactly what we're going to do, but that sounds reasonable.
Sure,
to
okay.
Start for this discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, what I'd like to do is at least be able to move forward with the 2022 annual report without hanging up on setting goals for all of 2023, if we can do that on a smaller scale. So I also, for what it's worth, think that sounds like a good goal and objective for that time span as well, and I think it is similar to the approach that the waste reduction working group took. So is there any other feedback or additional information to add to that particular goal for that working group? All right, got it. Then we can proceed to the, forgive me, the Just Transition Working Group 2022 end of year goals.
Okay, yeah, we met and we still hope to get more committee members if anyone is wanting to join us. And we plan to focus on 3 issue areas of impact this year. We will also plan to follow a plan to hold 1 or more local public events in order to have proposals ready for BCAUs to recommend in the following areas: climate justice, economic security, and housing. And then within each of those areas, it's broken down somewhat further in climate justice. We plan to focus on, and these ideas mostly came out of the event that we had, the Just Transition event, which is actually quite similar to the work that I think Stephanie was just describing that Gnarly Tree did with the for the chip. But anyway, within climate justice, the two areas are transit and fossil fuels. And within economic security, jobs and fairness in housing. And then maybe that moved under housing. And then under housing, there is sustainable housing for all, and harm reduction to the environment around housing, and
So the main goal then for the end of the year is to run one more public event, at least one. And it sounds like we'll be able to maybe get some connections from Stephanie.
and we're hoping for the event to be in the fall.
Yeah,
September or
a
October.
fall event, and then that way, because the goal is to get public input into potential list of policies that we can recommend around these areas that Naisha was talking about. So that's kind of
And
the
this time we
progression.
want to hold it when IU is in session.
Mm.
Make sure we get that university input. Yeah.
And I'm thinking the connection with Stephanie, she's got all those people, like if they weigh in as well, that's even more probably powerful, so.
I think we could also, maybe within that working group, we might come up with a suggestion for because to ask the city to ask the Parks Department to include us in that process. Because somehow.
Yeah, I think so. I just forwarded the email from Stephanie. Either if you're able to attend next Thursday, yeah. There's also some other contacts in there if you want to stay involved. Generally,
I should be able to go.
okay.
One of them.
That's it for Just Transition.
Okay, thank you. Any commissioner input or thoughts? If I may just summarize, so your goal is to host one more public event in the fall for gathering further information, further public input for setting a 2023 full year strategic goal? Okay.
Policy recommendations.
Okay.
Next year probably.
That sounds good to me. All right, so with no further input, I will note the waste reduction working group end of 2022 goals.
I can do it now, I found it.
You got it? Okay.
I apologize.
No, that's fine.
So we had 3 goals by the end of 2022. We wanted to put together a multiple-page plan for a neighborhood compost project to promote the diversion of food waste to neighborhood composts, with the idea of individuals in the neighborhood becoming compost captains. So, like at our place, we have a lot of compost, and we have a couple of neighbors that will drop their food waste compost for us to integrate into that. And so people that are already composting or want to have larger compost piles can be that champion for a part of their neighborhood, and people can bring that instead of going to the landfill. Second one will be collaborate with the Monroe County Waste District to explore best practices to promote establish drop-off compostable locations and education of what can actually be composted. And then the third would be research the feasibility of creating local collection options for Tetrapak or similar layered carbon or cartons for anybody that drinks nut milks. Typically, the only thing that you can actually compost with this or recycle with the city is the cap. It says it's recyclable, but you actually have to ship it off yourself. So if the city were to have a program where everybody could put them together, that would take a lot of waste that is going to the landfill and actually get it recycled into reusable products. So those are our 3 goals for the end of 2022 pertaining to the city's climate action plan. Questions?
Could you share more about the compost captains? Love that branding.
So it's just something that I pulled out. We have an urban farm and we compost 3 different ways. We compost. We have a worm composting system. We compost with our chickens, and then we have our yard waste compost. And we have 4 large bins that span from about half this room. And we just started asking neighbors if they would drop off their food waste. So we had to create an actual list of what we could compost and what we couldn't, not meats, not bones, things like that. And we've had 2 neighbors take us up on it, and it just kind of makes sense, especially since it's in the city's climate action plan. And there's many people that are composting and people that want to probably compost more to build their own soil. And so this seems like an easily, a more accessible way to champion people within.
Yeah, what's your plan for outreach? So are you planning to do outreach through the neighborhood districts or something?
We
like
haven't
that?
gotten to that point yet. The idea was the
I
city.
can talk a little bit if you want me to.
Yeah, go ahead, Emma.
Yeah, we're just gonna put together a plan on how we can best reach other people throughout Bloomington and how they can connect with their neighbors. So that includes finding people that are composting and if they would be willing to be that compost not an entire plan, but a better plan on all these different details about how to put together that platform for hopefully the city to implement.
I love that.
And the city already has a list of 1,000 people who are currently
Yes,
composting
exactly.
with the yard sign. So that would be part of the idea.
Great.
Compost captain, yard sign.
Yeah.
Contact me.
That's
if you
right.
would
I
like to
have seen
compost.
yard signs about mulch.
Yeah, the
I didn't
mulching
understand what
rather
they
than
signify
composting.
though. It's not clear. It just says
Right.
it's
we
not
can,
clear. Yeah.
I can elaborate
Yeah,
on
so
that outside of the meeting.
Our first and second goals are kind of intertwined a little bit.
Well, thank you for that.
Is the main goal.
And I love this. I love this idea, and I like it as well because any kind of outreach that the commission establishes can be further leveraged for other types of projects as well. So I love that you guys are thinking about doing some neighborhood outreach and establishing sort of neighborhood teams. Love that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I do have a question. I'm wondering, Matt Flaherty, sorry, do you have any, like, off the top of your head, like, things that we should be cautious about with moving forward with this type of plan? Like any hesitations or anything from your angle?
No, if I'm understanding it correctly, I guess you should make sure it's complementary to existing things, I suppose, and working with existing folks, whether it's earthkeepers who are doing some work and maybe collaborating or synergizing in some way or covering something that they don't cover well, to not duplicate efforts as much, as well as anything going on, with the city. Lauren would be better suited, obviously, to talk about, there's the pilot going on with restaurants, and I think a desire to keep going after that, but I don't know if there's plans to expand access to residential, composting. And some of that may be discussed in the budget cycle as well. I know there's several council members who want to prioritize this among climate action investments. In particular, I think council members Rollo, Piedmont Smith, and Rosenberger have all been sort of champions of this at various times. So, it might be worth reaching out to them about your thoughts too, and getting their input. They'd certainly be supporters in helping to share and expand the network.
Awesome, thanks for your insight.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have anything else to add to our goals. Those are them.
Excellent. Thank you, Emma. Any other commissioner questions or input? All right. Seeing none, I think we can conclude that we have goals set up for the end of calendar year 2022, and that as we pick up with the next calendar year cycle, we can actually do a full calendar year 2023 strategic plan. And then, Najla, I think from here we can turn it over to you for completion of the actual annual report content, now that we have our previous year's activities summary complete and 2022 year goals complete.
Sure, and would it be too much to ask everyone to give their contributions in writing as well as what we covered verbally here today?
I think that is a very good idea. I can cover that for the waste reduction group. Are there any volunteers for the other working groups? Well, you are
I mean,
one
I'm
of
sure
them,
no
so.
one's taking great notes.
Some notes.
But I think it might be best for everyone to, take the first stab at their own contribution, and then I can just pull it together.
And we are also recorded. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Sorry, Sean.
And I can reach out to people as needed.
Okay.
And this is on Cats too, so if you need to go rewatch it later,
Okay.
it's an option.
All right, very good. Thank you all for your contributions and input. I think that concludes our annual report strategic plan proposals. Final opportunity for any remarks on strategic planning or annual reporting.
Sorry, we should set some dates, so, dates for everyone sending me the info and dates for
Yeah,
finishing it up.
I say within the next calendar week for all of the, for all of the
SMART goals.
information for 2022 end of year goals. And that would just be myself and Sean providing those. Sean, does that sound reasonable to you?
Yes, no problem.
Okay.
I would just need your email address, or should I just send it to Lauren?
I think.
I'll send you his email.
Okay.
And then I'll finish the annual report by, sorry, did I interrupt you guys?
No.
When should I finish the annual report by then?
I think, you and whoever is you'd like to collaborate with, you probably have a draft prepared for approval for our next meeting a month from now. And then we could potentially approve it and then forward it or present it to City Council at a subsequent meeting. If that sounds reasonable.
Alicia, do you have
to
time
everyone.
to review it, the draft, before I share it with everyone? All right, I have a collaborator.
Very good.
I'll try to have it in by the end of the month to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Najla.
Thank you, Joe.
So we can go on to our discussion, item C, takeaways from the National Restaurant Association in Chicago. This is from Matt, if you would like to begin with that.
Sure, thanks. So I went up to the National Restaurant Association show in Chicago at McCormick Place. I think it was sometime in May. And with the hope of finding some sustainable, some ideas that could help the city be more sustainable or just individuals. So as you heard me talk about earlier, the first one was Tetrapak, Carton recycling. I went on their website and found out that the city of Bloomington has no drop-off locations. Larger cities probably do have drop-off locations, but we don't. So the only option for the individual consumer would be to actually package these up yourself and send them off. A lot of people the majority of people aren't going to do that. So the next thought was, well, why couldn't the city do that? There's a lot of issues that would go into getting that actually done, but if we are trying to follow the climate action plan that the city has set out in reducing waste, this is an obvious, I wouldn't say easy, but it's an obvious target to go after. So just being reminded, because every single time I throw one of these in the trash, I just feel bad because I know it could be recycled. But even someone like me who recycles everything and severely dislikes single-use plastic, even I don't. So if I'm not packaging them up, other people probably aren't either, unless if they've got them stacks and stacks in their garage, like Joseph. And I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. So recyclecartons.com is where you can learn more about that. But it just seems like a real, some low-hanging fruit that the city could do with the additional funds that are now going to be available to reduce what goes in the landfill. The second thing, and the city of Bloomington's already doing this, I thought this was really cool, path. So I severely dislike reuse or plastic water bottles. We see those at sporting events, we see them at community events, all over. There's different sizes. You can actually customize them. So it could say City of Bloomington, it could say the Monroe County, it could say Indiana University. They're reusable, non-BPA lining. Most importantly, they're reusable. So you can charge slightly higher price point than plastic bottles, but once again, they're reusable. And in the case of, like, I think Notre Dame is already using these with their food service, they also become a collectible. So organizations could have a higher price point because it is a collectible as well. So just trying to show, if you're a part of any organization, there are options out there to replace water bottles with something that is reusable, that can be a collectible, that's still within that reasonable price point. And this is, I think Ryan Seacrest and a few famous chefs and others are supporting this. So if you didn't get one of these bottles, I've got more as samples, please ask me. And then my favorite one, once again, I severely dislike styrofoam, and so whenever I go to get takeout food, I bring my own to-go container. If the restaurant is nice enough to allow me to give them my takeout container and put the food in, I do it that way. Otherwise, I order in and I just scrape it off the plate into my to-go container. So it's what I call BYOC, bring your own container, which is what I would really like to. But on that note, there were multiple companies that have products like this. Okay, so it's not just your to-go container, but the idea is they actually have drop boxes. There are universities, military establishments, old folks' homes, cities, and so they have drop box locations where you drop these off after using them. They get washed and reused. These have 1,000 use capacity, and then the company takes them back and they grind them up and recycle and turn them into a new product. So that was really, really cool. It takes 17 uses for the company to at break even. There's case studies. University of Madison, Wisconsin is already doing this. I know Bloomington will a lot of times look at Madison as to what they're currently doing. Northwestern's using this. There's senior living centers. Here's Northwestern. So it's an established product. This company's used to working with cities, with universities. I just severely dislike to-go containers that aren't fully compostable. And if we could just even go away from that, this is a great way for companies or for local businesses to save money and feel better about it. And I feel it goes directly with the current program the city has with getting businesses to start composting. This will kind of be a sister program. You're going to save money, you're going to feel better because people aren't throwing things into the landfill they don't need to, et cetera, et cetera. So if you have any questions, this is a whole list of from mid-2016 of universities, cities, businesses that are already using this to save them money and be more sustainable. So those were the three takeaways I had the most, and everything's actually made in the USA, which is also really nice, including the bags. And then my favorite one, and this isn't anything about sustainability, was I found Ripple Milk has this really good ice cream soft serve. So I'm gonna try and get Hartzell's and the chocolate mousse to check that out. But anyways, that's a whole other story. So any questions?
You gotta give your presentation to like the head of IU or something.
I agree.
Or,
Well, I'm just hoping that this,
something.
I'm trying to educate first, but yes, that is the goal. Since there are already other universities using it. But I encourage everybody to bring their own containers for takeout or for leftovers. That's really the ultimate goal. This is just the more organized version. But keep your own containers in the back of your car and bring them with you when you go out to eat.
Thank you, Matt.
Yep.
Any other questions or remarks from commissioners?
So what was the difference between the PATH bottle and just a regular metal bottle?
This is a non-BPA
Oh, okay.
lining.
Okay.
So my family has a history of Alzheimer's, and aluminum is research to actually contribute to the chance of Alzheimer's.
Okay.
So that, I guess, the purified water with electrolytes when you first get it, but the fact that it's customizable for organizations, so they've got their brand and their identity on that, and it goes away as a souvenir as well to be reused multiple times.
Okay, so it comes sealed with its own
Yep.
product. and
Yep,
then
yeah,
used.
so it
Okay,
comes sealed
gotcha.
as its own product, and then it becomes reused.
Gotcha.
Sorry for not
Yep.
clarifying that.
Thanks.
I have a question, but it's not exactly related to your presentation, but it is about water bottles.
Okay.
Do we have a map of water fountains that are available in Bloomington? So that people would know where to go to fill them up when they're in town? Or if they're riding their bike, or, I would love that.
So I'm not aware of a map. My family is in the middle of a project trying to build a bike station that we're taking care of on our own, and it will include a water station. The water station, interestingly, is actually self-powered with solar panels that pull moisture out of the air. It is a really, really cool. So I know there's when my family was, I think it was in Italy, where the city has water fountains everywhere, including sparkling water, which I was like,
Exactly.
that's amazing. So
I love that.
I would love that idea to have a map of where people could actually fill their water bottles up, and you could, without having to have the infrastructure. I'm blanking on what the company's Source Water. They have, it's not cheap, but it's not super expensive, a few $1,000s, where they set up the solar panels that power and help pull the moisture out of the air and purify it at the same time. It's a really, really cool product.
That's amazing.
All right. Thank you all for your thoughts and for the presentation, Matt. With that, we can go on to last item for discussion is adoption of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Is there a particular commissioner who brought that on? Okay, there it is. Please.
Yeah, so this is more just a suggestion for our methodologies. And actually, everything that was discussed already is a perfect lead-in for this, so thank you all. We've discussed it before that the United Nations has 17 goals for sustainable development. I think that I wanted to give everybody a chance to familiarize themselves with it and maybe do a little looking into it. But I think that if we were to adopt that as or align ourselves with it and adopt it as a function of our commission, that it would really help us to categorize our projects. There's always an issue of scope creep, so there's a lot of sustainability can reach everything. I think that if we have these as part of our process and you identify what goals you're trying to address, that offers significant benefits. It help prevent scope creep. It'll help identify overlapping efforts, like Stephanie brought in today. I actually saw this on a vendor's proposal for work, that they were aligned with the goals and they included the ones that they were addressing in their proposal, which was really nice to see. And that takes me to the point that it's another communication method for other sustainability groups, so that if we identify our projects with those markers, then it makes it a little easier to find partners that are working on the same thing. Also, it further legitimizes our project efforts. Globally, it's recognized, and I think it would just be a really effective method for categorizing our projects in a way that helps us communicate with the outside world and keep a focus internally. I wanted to give everybody a chance to look over them and become familiar with them before I suggest the formal adoption, but yeah, if you could all just take a look at it. It's the 17 SDGs. And yeah, you'll find a nice presentation on it. That's really all I had.
Thank you for that. Any thoughts or questions? I did also just put a link to the SDGs in the chat for those who are on Zoom.
Appreciate that.
I just would like to share that I second this idea, and I look forward to thinking of how we can implement it within all the working groups. And So you're not suggesting this is something that would be included like in the annual report though, right? This would be something going forward after that?
No,
after
it's,
that.
it's purely a methodology, so that when we create projects, actually in the annual report, we could
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
identify
Maybe
what
we should.
function, or what goals you're addressing.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
Yeah.
because within what we've discussed, anyway, I might try to do something with that in the annual report, possibly. But I second the idea. I'm a big fan of the SDGs.
Yeah, because everything, you can see what goals you're addressing very clearly. And then if you have 6 or 7 of them, that might be too much. And maybe you can isolate it, and that'll actually help prevent a little bleed over into things that might just be a little too insurmountable. So
What was the part you were saying about it'll help us to find people to partner with in the community?
because it's the global goals.
Right.
Other organizations that are familiar with sustainability or are adopting sustainability will recognize the 17 goals. So you can actually, like I said, in the proposal I received, they had the icons of what, it was infrastructure and technology, but it was what it was addressing and how they're contributing towards sustainability. So it's a nice icon for companies that are making the effort. It helps communicate, and it also helps identify for people that are looking to help in a certain or a particular realm.
Yeah, it's almost like a language to use.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
internationally recognized.
Precisely.
On sustainability.
Yeah, I think that also sounds like a good approach. I don't know if it would be too much too quick to include it into this year's
Maybe
report,
just
but
in one sentence that we've decided to try
sure.
to adopt that more and to start using these
Actually,
categories.
yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds reasonable. Any other commissioner thoughts, questions?
This was like, it can be a big time saver.
Yes.
And to not go over things that have already been gone over.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
And do a good
identifying
start.
overlap. Like Stephanie's project here, they have their own categories, but those categories also fall underneath the goals. And then if you're looking for help in other organizations, it's like she said, it's a communication method.
Yeah, I think it'd be an easy lens to apply to the work that's already
Yeah.
being done without feeling like we have to completely change anything to incorporate it.
You don't have to define a project from start to finish. You can say it's this, and this,
Yep.
and then get into the details
And it
or
also
nitty-gritty
gives
later.
us all a starting point when we're working on this to maybe go to the SDGs website and see what resources they recommend in
Yes.
these areas.
Yeah, that's a good point.
If you want to see an example of SDGs in use, you can look up IUPUI's website about it. They have great examples of what they're doing to follow the SDGs.
Is it on the homepage? I could share it if you wanted to. If you have a particular page you want to show or a particular section of the page that would be worthwhile to see right now.
You're muted.
Just a note that IUPUI has had some international recognition on that front as well, specifically to what Sean's speaking about, their use of the SDGs as an organizing framework for their sustainability work. They're kind of at the vanguard of what U.S. universities, higher ed institutions are doing on that front.
I'm going to add a website in the chat.
Okay, so I'll share that page for reference. You can see the URL at the top, sdg.iupui.edu/sdgs@iupui. Very aptly named page. And has a lot more information than I can show you in the scope of this meeting, but everybody now has access to it and it's recorded. So there we go. Thank you for that, Sean. And also the SDGs are here. This is the main page. sdgs.un.org/goals. All right. Any
Is there
further?
an action that we want to plan for next meeting around this?
That's a good question. That's what I was going to follow up with.
Yeah, I just wanted to give everybody a chance to look it over and then, propose that we vote on our alignment with it formally, so we get it in the record.
Okay. Yeah, I suppose we could do so as a simple motion or as a resolution if you wanted to make it more momentous.
Okay.
Could be a little more specific besides our alignment with it, you know what I mean? Like, what will that entail,
Okay.
that align, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so categorizing our projects with it, using it as a communication with other organizations.
And, oh, please go ahead.
I'm sorry, just making an effort to address whatever we can within that realm.
I would maybe suggest if you'd be interested in composing something along the lines of a resolution for it to distribute sometime between this meeting and next, we could host it in the collaboration folder of the B-Coast shared documents on Drive, and then get commissioner feedback ahead of time, and then refine collectively a version to potentially vote on at the next meeting.
I think it's a
Good
great
idea.
topic for a resolution.
Yeah, okay. Very good. Unless there are any further remarks, I think we will proceed to, we have no resolutions for first reading. There is what is not technically a resolution, but a motion that would require a second reading, which is a change to the bylaws that we discussed at our previous meeting, with respect to a slight language modification surrounding the duties of the chairperson. I will display that in the share as well for reference as soon as I am able. Thank you for bearing with me. Okay. So the proposed change was simply to change the language where it's highlighted so that the chairperson shall prepare or delegate the preparation of the agenda for all meetings. So this would be an opportunity, well, I guess I will move that we modify the bylaws to include the new language where the chairperson shall prepare or delegate the preparation of the agenda for all meetings.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? I'll just note to reiterate for per the discussion of last month's meeting that it's just to be in alignment in the bylaws with the practice that we currently have. And I think the language is a pretty simple change, pretty clerical, but important to have. So if there is no discussion, I think we can proceed to a roll call vote. If you would be so kind, Nolan.
Matt Austin? Yes. Sarah?
Absent.
Emma?
Yeah.
Matt Flaherty?
Yes.
Alicia?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Najla?
Yes.
Joseph?
Yes.
And Nolan, yes.
All right. That is passed unanimously, and I will connect with Lauren about making that change to the bylaws, since I don't have access to the original. So thank you all for that modification. Glad to have that complete. I will stop that share, and if I'm not mistaken, that was the last active item on the agenda listed. That does bring us to our next item, which would be reports from commissioners, if there are any. Check Zoom as well. All right, I know we all had a lot of opportunities to speak already and covered a lot of different things, so I was not expecting much to report, but want to provide the opportunity. We do have an agenda item for new business. If there were any other items not on the agenda that anyone would like to bring up to discuss now in the remaining approximately 15 minutes that we have in our scheduled meeting time. All right. I do not see any takers in the room or the Zoom, and that would bring us to our last agenda item, which is adjournment. Is there any, do we need to do a roll call vote for adjournment? I think I will.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think that if there is no objection, we will adjourn. I will provide an opportunity for objection. All right. Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you all so much for a very good meeting.